There's a lot to cover with this iPhone, and even though it's already almost 4 years old, it can still do a lot in 2024. I want to make this video as simple and as quick as possible. I'm going to break this iPhone up into two categories, the pros and the cons, and what all of that means in 2024. Is the phone usable? Is it not usable? I'm gonna tell you by the end. Probably the best thing about this phone in 2024 is how small it is. It is so easy to fit it in your pocket. It's super thin, it's super light. You almost forget that you're holding it or even having it in your pocket because of its size. There's pros and cons to having a smaller display. It just depends on who you are and what you want. Something that surprised me with this phone is the design. The rounded edges feel amazing in the hand, and I forgot how nice it felt in comparison to the sharp edges on the iPads or the new iPhones. Having a nice rounded corner hit the palm of your hand when you're holding the phone just feels way better than having a sharp corner just driving into the palm of your hand, and it just feels better on your fingers too when you're holding the phone. It's not stabbing your hand while you're holding it. It's just kind of like holding a pebble in your hand. And I really forgot how nice that was, and I think we really took that for granted. And I kind of wish they would bring it back. But considering Apple's new design language, the likelihood of this design language ever coming back is super, super unlikely. Unless they bring it back for nostalgia, which is kind of why they brought back the sharp edges, but you never know. The last pro that I really didn't expect to appreciate in 2024 is Touch ID. It's super fast, it's really convenient. The home button also is kind of nice. I don't think it's better than the swipe gesture on the bigger phones now. I think swiping up to go home or swiping up between apps is a lot faster, but having your home button back is nostalgia, and it does feel kind of cool, but it gets old kind of fast. But Touch ID, man, if I could have Touch ID on every iPhone, I would do it, because it's way faster than Face ID, it's more reliable than Face ID. Now, the only thing that's wrong with Touch ID is that if your finger is wet, or if your thumb is wet, or you have, sweaty hands, or you live in Arizona, it's just hot all the time, you're sweating. Sometimes Touch ID is a little unreliable when your finger is wet, but to be honest, that's like 1 out of every 10 times that Touch ID doesn't actually work because of that. And I feel like that's significantly better than Face ID, or like if you put sunglasses on, it might not work, or if you put a hat on, it might not work, or if you're sitting at the wrong angle, it might not work. So Touch ID 2024, it's amazing, and I hope they bring it back on future iPhones. They definitely can. I don't know why they wouldn't. Hi, honey. You want to make video with me? The cons, and honestly, some of these cons are pros depending on what you're looking for in a phone in 2024, but to some people, this might also be things that might make you kind of annoyed or frustrated with the experience on the phone, so I don't know, it's kind of up to you. One of the biggest cons is that it is unbearably slow on iOS 18, bro. Like, sometimes even opening the keyboard will be laggy and slow, or opening up the camera will take like 5 seconds, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you're trying to snap a picture really fast or you need to catch something real quick, them 5 seconds is frustrating. Asking Siri to do anything is pretty slow, and not because of internet connection, but just because of like all the animations. A lot of the animations are really slow too, and that's mostly because the iPhone SE has a 60 Hz display over a 120 Hz display. Oh. But because the iPhone SE is getting to that 5-year-old period, the display doesn't even really run at 60 FPS all the time. It really kind of feels like it's running at maybe 45 to 50 FPS. If you're just an average phone user, that might not be something that you'll notice, but if you're coming from an iPhone that has a ProMotion display, it's going to be something you're going to notice, and it might really frustrate you. For me, it didn't frustrate me that much. It did take a little while to get used to, but after a while, I got over it and didn't really think about it anymore. Now, one of the most annoying things about this phone in 2024 is that it gets really hot pretty fast, especially if you're trying to use maps. The phone will get hot basically from doing anything, and sometimes I even had to put my phone in the freezer just to get it to chill out so I could actually use it for editing photos or anything else, because it just, even while you're charging, it gets pretty hot. If you're trying to use the phone outdoors, man, you might as well give up, because Using it outdoors, the display will dim because the phone gets hot, and the display brightness is already pretty low, so using the phone outdoors is kind of impossible. Like it's not impossible, but it's just not a great experience. It's really hard to see anything unless you have it on light mode. If you have dark mode on, man, outside you're not really gonna see anything on your screen. Not only is iOS 18 really slow, but the UI is also not optimized for the smaller phone. Like, yeah, Apple supports the iPhone SE for iOS updates, but it's their smallest phone that they make, and I feel like they don't even really want to make it. They just have it for people who are stubborn and don't want to get the bigger phones. And you can see it, because when you're using the control center, or you're opening up the keyboard, or you're opening up other apps like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever, all the buttons are like overly big. The video is crammed with all this extra buttons around it because they're so big on the screen. Notifications look huge. Basically any UI element is bigger than it needs to be on the small phones. Safari is also kind of not great to use just because the bar on the bottom takes up so much of the web page for no reason. I wish Apple would maybe make a little bit bigger of a priority for the smaller phones to make them look a little bit better. But will that actually happen? Probably not. Just a quick editor's note, something that I forgot to mention in the cons is that the iPhone SE's camera is pretty mid. If you're looking to do professional photos or professional video, this is not the camera for you. You definitely don't want to get this one. You only get one lens. Even the digital zoom on the iPhone SE is pretty bad. Front-facing camera, it's fine. It's passable. And I mean, honestly, that is kind of the best way to describe the iPhone SE camera, is passable. So altogether, what does this really mean in 2024 for the iPhone SE that came out in 2020? It's still a pretty good phone, and especially if you're somebody who's looking to get away from distractions or get away from social media or do a dopamine detox, this is a great phone for you. Now, if you're looking for a smaller phone, but also like a power phone, this is not the way to go, because this phone definitely gets slow. Definitely gets really hot very easily. So if you're looking to edit photos or maybe even record videos with it or take photos with it, I would stay away from it and maybe go towards something like the 12 mini or the 13 mini. If I had to give the iPhone 2020 overall rating or like a number rating, I don't think that's really possible. But if I had to, it's like a 6 out of 10. It's a pretty good phone, and especially for the price. I got my iPhone SE refurbished for $100, and getting an iPhone for $100 with iOS on it, that's pretty good. That's a really good deal. Honestly, if I had to give a recommendation as well, I would skip the 2020 model and go straight to the 2022 model. Pay $100 more. Get the 2022 iPhone SE. It's gonna be faster. It also has 5G. However, I don't know if you really want 5G on an iPhone SE just because it gets really hot really easily. So I assume that the 2022 iPhone SE gets even hotter, even faster. All in all, if you're looking for a really simple phone where you can eliminate all distractions and just kind of let your phone be your phone and nothing else, the iPhone SE in 2024 is definitely the way to go. Isn't that right, honey? Isn't that right, honey? Honey's asleep. She doesn't even care. She's like, I don't even need a phone. I don't even want a phone.